Give me 1 second and I'll let you know. All right, this meeting is now being recorded, so I'm just letting everyone know. Welcome everybody to our June LSC meeting. I don't know if we want to wait a few more minutes to see if a few more people join us, or if we wanted to go ahead and proceed.
We're ready to go. I don't think, looking though at the screen, you want to wait 2-3 minutes? I mean,
sure, we can wait a minute or two.
welcome everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome to you too. And we do have a quorum, even if we move forward.
Great. So we could.
I think we only have 6 members. Is that correct?
Oh, no, we don't. I was counting Mr. Javier. Mr. Javier is on there. So we only have 6. Since we haven't started the meeting, if you all want to just go ahead and read the minutes and the agenda, that would be great.
So I move forward. We're calling the Steinmetz College Prep Local School Council meeting for June to order. If we could do a roll call.
Okay, ma'am, let me just put the time in real quick to just start to order. Mr. Jaramillo.
Present.
Ms. Valentine.
Present.
Mr. Keelis is absent. Sergeant Davis present. Ms. Lopez. Ms. Lopez absent. Ms. Russo.
Present.
Mr. DeJesus.
Yes, sir.
Present. Ms. Hernandez.
Present.
Mr. Suega, Ms. Aguirre, and Mr. Toledo, they're absent. I did mail a letter, by the way, for everyone. Mr. Vantes.
Present.
And go back to Ms. Lopez.
Present.
Eight member present. And we do have a quorum. Time now is 5:05 p.m.
Thank you to you, Master Sergeant, and everyone for being present. We'll move along our agenda as we have a busy agenda today. We move forward, and remember, council members, this information is being sent to you ahead of time for your review. We're making a motion now to approve the local school council agenda for today as presented.
I'll second that motion, Ms. Valentine.
Open for discussion.
Yeah, I was wondering if it would be possible to move the principal's report up, or at least the presentation of SRO, since Mr. Javier is with us, and I don't want him to have to wait till the end of the meeting.
So we are making a motion to move the principal report to after public participation.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure, we don't have to wait. He's coming in as a department, so they come on first. Invite the school department report.
Okay. All right.
We don't have to move it.
All right. Thank you. So I retract my statement. It's good.
I still think that if you're discussing the SRO and he played role there, that's very different from department. So I don't know if he at all was participating in that conversation during your report.
Yeah. So then, would it be?
It would be best to move. So I make a motion to move the principal report to follow public participation.
All right. I'll second that.
Open for discussion. Close for discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Harmil,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Mr. Keelis is not here. Sergeant Davis, yes. Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
and Ms. Cervantes.
Yes.
8 yes, no no's. Motion passed 5:08 p.m.
Thank you so much. The next part of the agenda is approval of previous local school council minutes. And from what I am seeing here, we are moving to approve the May local school council minute as presented.
I'll second.
I second.
Open for discussion. Close for discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Harmil,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Ms. Keelis is absent. Sergeant Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
and Ms. Cervantes.
Yes.
8 yes, no no's. Motion passed 5:09 p.m.
Great. We now go down to public participation. Public participation is 2 minutes. They will be timed. Do we have anyone that's participating, Master Sergeant Davis, from public participation?
Let me just check my email again. I checked it before we logged on, just to make sure. I'm doing another search. There are no requests.
We are in that part now. Is there any public participation? Raise of hand. Okay. No one raised their hand, correct, Master Sergeant Davis?
You're correct, ma'am.
Okay. So we move right into our principal report.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the consideration and moving up the agenda. I just wanted to go ahead and start the principal's report. And the first thing in the report that we're going to address is the, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm going to present on my screen. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that, hopefully. Yeah, so the first thing we're going to go over in the principal's report is a consideration for the information regarding the school resource officer. So part of the process that has been set forth by the district is that we put together a whole school safety team consisting of different members of the school community, and we go through a process in which we look at what are some of the needs of the schools, what is the what are some of the things that are working, what are the things that are not, and try to summarize different aspects of school safety and trying to prioritize those things that we believe would help make our school a safer environment, not just for the physical safety, but emotional safety as well. So what I would like to do is just go through and tell you a little bit about uh, the process, a little bit about the members and who makes up the team, and then I will then like to turn it over to Mr. Christopher Javier, who is one of the members of the team, who's going to be talking to you a little bit about the process as well, and presenting some of the findings. So the first part that I'll go through, and then I'll hand it over to Mr. Javier, is the selection of the committee basically had to be made up of different stakeholders in the school community. Right now, as you can see on the screen, some of the members that participated in this weeks-long process was myself, two assistant principals, Mr. Javier, a science teacher, Mr. Jesus, who's also on our council, Ms. Valentin, who's also on our council, Mr. Powell, one of our school counselors, a security officer, Marcelo Rosa, and we had 3 students on the panel as well as on the committee. 9th grader Brandon Solis, 10th grader Marisol Ramirez, and 11th grader Leandre Wallace, student number 3. And this whole team met various times and helped to do research and to try to get information and do surveys and different things. But I'll hand it over to Mr. Javier, who is going to explain to you a little bit about the process and tell you all the steps that we went through to try to put together this presentation. Mr. Javier, I will go ahead and advance the slides on your request if you want.
Cool, sounds good. Hi, everyone. Good evening, and thanks for welcoming me to the LSC meeting tonight. My name is Mr. Javier. I'm a science teacher. I will be next year's MTSS coordinator, but I was also asked to be a part of the whole school safety plan committee. And it was a lot of work to do in a short amount of time, but we worked hard to get that going together. So right here, you can see the vision. And what we did was we took what was recommended by CPS for whole school safety, but we also added in our own school's value. So you can see that right there. It just says Steinmetz College Prep High School is committed to building students who are strong, talented, resilient, empowered, ambitious, and knowledgeable. To do this, we'll foster an environment where all students in the building feel safe, both physically and emotionally, and also feel welcome, supported, and respected by both their peers and adults so they can reach their full potential. Yeah, and so you can see that we're going to be working and analyzing data that covers both the physical and emotional aspects of school safety. For the strategies and the data that we used, we looked at various sources of data. Some of them were from years ago, some of them were from this year. So you can see them here. The 5 essentials: historical discipline data, internal parent surveys, internal staff surveys, student interview focus groups, community interviews, the Northwest Side Housing parent leaders conversations, and then LSC one-on-ones. From there, we had to analyze what was going well, and then we had to also analyze areas of improvement. So the areas that were going well, you can see here, this was all data driven. Teacher safety is going well. So at our school, the teachers do feel safe. We felt that the SROs that we've had for the past couple of years have been well received by students and staff, that they represent themselves at different activities, even when school's not in session. Their active involvement in stakeholders. There was active involvement of stakeholders in the SRO decision-making process. Students do feel safe in the classrooms, and that was from the 5E surveys answered by students. And from our March to March data, what we saw was a decrease in out-of-school suspensions for all priority groups, and there were improvements from various subgroups as well. We're still moving forward with conscious discipline, and so we're having our staff members attending a conscious discipline book study, and we've invested into purchasing the supporting materials, and over the summer, we'll be hosting small groups of staff members to do book studies. As for areas of improvement, We did have some concerns, SEL concerns for when students return. We know this year has taken a large emotional, social emotional toll on our students. And so we're going to need to support them. Our behavioral health team has been working hard to prepare for next year, and we're going to be doing interviews and parent-teacher surveys, as well as staff surveys on recommendations on how we can best serve our students and be prepared for the fall. We also know that we need supports in peer-to-peer relational trust. One of the areas on the 5E survey that was pretty low was how the students relate to one another. So bullying and expression of student voice, it needs work. For developing community outreach, we do have a lot of community partners. I think we just want to continue to strengthen those. For SEL for adults, our staff and community, we kind of need to just make sure that we are we're taking advantage of all the supports that we have in the building. And then for physical safety outside of the school, in contrast to the safety that our students feel within the school, it was pretty clear that outside the school and on the streets surrounding it, the students do not feel that level of safety. So we have to think about how to make things a little bit more fun and have a presence outside that's not like domineering and intimidating, but welcoming. And so we're thinking towards like having non-security adults outside just to enhance the presence of the feeling of security without any kind of fear. And so from those areas of what was going well and the areas of improvement, we drew on some priorities. We know we need to focus on these four, which is physical, emotional safety, relational trust, and then all of that ties into whole school safety. So the priorities we landed on, as you can see from the physical safety priorities, emotional and relational. On the physical side, we want to ensure that students feel safe inside and outside the building and in common areas. For the emotional safety, we want to build multiple levels of SEL support. And then for relational trust, we're going to build relational trust throughout the building and peer-to-peer relational trust among students. And the all-encompassing priority is really just strengthening community outreach and partnerships. We want to focus on CPD, 25th District, and Steinmetz. And we believe that improving that partnership is going to impact physical, emotional, and relational trust priorities. Mr. Jaramillo, do you want me to go through the rest of it as well? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute my mic. Yeah, if we could just talk a little bit about the strategies that we identified.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for each of the priority groups, the physical, emotional, relational, and then the whole school, we had to analyze what we already have going and then analyze the new strategies. We had to designate somebody who's going to be responsible for that to drive it forward. And then we also assessed the cost, and that was us pretty much communicating to CPS or our district or network what our needs would be to make that happen and to see if they could support us in those ways. So for physical safety, some of the things that we're already doing is we have an increased presence of SROs. They are walking the hallways a lot more. They're not just sitting in an office and out only when bad things happen. They were a lot more proactive. So that's something that was great that we need to maintain. Also, we had a dean located on each floor. So we split up the dean so that they were closer to any kind of needs that came up during the day. Some of the new strategies that we want to consider are increasing the presence of adults and the front campus of the school before and after school. And that goes towards, the physical safety outside of the school. We want to increase the presence of the adults in the hallways during passing periods, implementing peace circles and restorative practices, which we're getting training for, and then providing training for SRO staff and all supports on de-escalation techniques. And then we want to implement safe passage program in the community after school. So the responsible owner for that would be the culture and climate team. And you could see the resources and needed costs there. And so the hope is that we would be able to fund a security officer or a dean to assist with the increased workload there. And then also maybe an extra $5K for parent patrol through Northwest Side Housing. The safe passage in the community after school, we're going to have to work out as well with community programs. For emotional safety, you guys can see that we've already been doing, we have so many different programs within the school. So there's Legacy Builders, there's BAM, Phenomenal Woman, PCC Clinic, Youth Outreach, Social Worker, Peace Circles, and Restorative Justice. And so we do have a lot of resources. Our students are really blessed to have those things. And we need to continue to strengthen by providing training to our staff and implementing the conscious discipline model. I think moving forward, we're going to have to make sure that those are organized and that we get a lot of data from how well those programs are working for the progress monitoring. And new strategies we're going to be implementing is National Youth Advocate Program, the Living Room, Rainbows, Metropolitan Family Services. So these are different programs that we have coming towards the school. They will be joining the school, but we're waiting on training, or there'll be new programs in 2021 to 22. The responsible owner here will be the counseling team and the behavioral health team. And you can see the resources needed there, an extra $70K to fund for an additional SEL support specialist, and then more training from the SEL programs. For priority 3, relational trust, students are already offered a lot of opportunities to engage. We've got sports teams, we've got clubs that a lot of other schools don't have. We have after school enrichment programs and activities, and then counselor sponsored groups. We have BAM. For new strategies, we want to increase student voice and partnership through the development of the Student Voice Committee. We've had that in past years. I think due to the pandemic, it kind of fell to the wayside this past year, but bring that back and strengthening it. We want to create during school or in-school opportunities for our students and staff to focus on team building activities, just to continue to build relationships between our students and even our staff. And then we need to implement those peace circles so that students who have issues with other students can find a way to resolve those and move forward. That's going to fall under myself as the MTSS coordinator for just organizing those and strengthening them. And the nice thing here is that we won't need any resource or costs because we have a lot of these things internally. We just need to organize them and enhance. And then for the whole school, we have intramural activities and special events that include CPD, and they've joined us for a lot of those. And then we have hosted and sponsored community events with their presence. New strategies, we want to engage with district community officers on collaborative community projects, and we want to increase the amount of community events with CPD. We also want to conduct panel discussions between CPD and SVC class officers. So that's the Student Voice Committee. So the responsible owner there would be the school leaders, LSC, and community partners, because that's a lot more expansive than just within the school building. And resources, we think that $10K for professional developments and to go towards collaborative events would be very beneficial there. So the total proposed cost from each of those 4 priorities runs up to $125K, and those I think that's not promised, but that's what we would be requesting. And then finally, for the recommendation by the committee, I think this is what a lot of the data and the reflection came down to, was the recommendation for SRO use. So we were given 3 options: to completely remove the SRO program, keep 1, or keep 2. And we landed on recommending that our school keep 1 SRO and supplement with the above strategies. And so the details here say that although our recommendation is to keep 1 SRO and supplement with the above strategies, we realize our plan goes over the potential amount of $50K in exchange for an SRO. And so if we have to prioritize 1 item in the plan, we wanted that to go towards a security officer position. This decision that we arrived at had a lot to do with the survey data. And so we took survey data in 2021, and 76% of staff wanted to keep SROs, 83.8% of parents wanted to keep SROs. That was in the most recent survey. And there wasn't too much change because 2 years ago, there was 75% of staff wanting to keep our SROs and 92% of parents wanting to keep them. And so we wanted to honor that by, those survey results by keeping the SRO program. But we also realized that we've made a lot of strides within the school, and we have a solid plan moving forward so that we don't feel that 2 SROs are completely necessary. And so, yeah, I think that's how we got to the conclusions that we came to. It was a lot of data, a lot of discussion, and we tried to include as many voices within the school and school families and community as possible.
But thank you, Mr. Javier. I really appreciate your time here presenting to the council and explaining our plan that we went through. So I'm sorry. So I'll keep it on the screen, and I'll take a minute to just, see if any council members want to ask us any questions or talk about the experiences or the recommendations. Again, Ms. Valentine and Mr. De Jesus, Mr. Javier, myself, we're all members of the committee. So feel free, are there any questions or anything or points of clarification needed at this point?
Yeah, I know one thing was to improve the communication, but I remember when we were going, when all the riots was going on downtown, and there was communication about the police and being a fellow police officer, and even talking to some of the students in the class, we have to do a better job at making sure that we as adults don't get in the political aspect of it. And I know, and I hear we talking about improving communication and trust, but there was a time, even in our school, where we were anti-police. And I'm saying we because there are some individuals. I'm not talking about everybody, people in this room, but we have to make sure we do a better job at that, and the messaging about when the incident happens or what happens, how we continue to support, SROs in our building and continue and what our message is, because there are some individuals that work in professions that might not be right for their profession, but we can't put a black eye on the whole profession. And that happened, even in our curriculum during our school this past year.
Thank you, Master Sergeant, for that point. And I think, right, we're all here doing the SRO vote again because it has been something that has affected citywide, and it looks different for every community when it comes down to SRO. I do want to thank the committee and the staff that took the time. I really got to meet Mr. Javier in a different way, having these discussions. So I think the process that CPS created was great in bringing us together. But again, the timeline, and the only concern that I have is the 50,000, right? Like we're saying one SRO, and alternative for security. How are you sure that the $50,000 is going to continue to be funded by CPS to sustain this position in the long run?
That's a great question, Ms. Valentina, and thank you, Master Sergeant, for your comments. I don't have an answer to that. The only thing that I know from the process, what was explained to us, is that more than likely this is going to be a yearly assessment and a yearly vote as we move forward, and that they're going to look at every school individually to see what the plans are, what the data shows, and then CPS will help make that decision on whether or not, what resources the particular school needs, in conjunction with consulting with safety and security, our network, and so on. So I can't guarantee that the funding will continue on a year-to-year basis. That they said that's up to each school, and depending on what schools are priorities, what their needs are, and it's going to be taken on an individual basis. And so that's a great question that maybe we can push forward as a council to try to obtain some answers as to how we're going to either be guaranteed or how this is going to look in the future. At this point, I don't have an answer for you, but that's a great question.
And thank you, Mr. Jaramillo, where we should be advocating for that now, because this is the issue, right? Like if we don't have that conversation, we could be setting ourselves up for failure, right? Bringing someone on, then not knowing how to sustain them. And then the other thing I think about is like, well, the SROs want to be in the building by themselves. They're usually working partnerships, right? Or they're coming too. So how would, as well, the SROs that are applying for these jobs, are they willing to take these jobs done by themselves? Like, has that conversation have we had it? You know, has CPS had it? Not us, right? But has CPS had it? I feel like they just put up these 3 suggestions, but with no backup. And it's, you know, it's hard because we all put, you know, hard work into this, and then there's no clarity. So I'm just wondering if we could do like a follow-up with that department, because I don't know how it will.
And until we have all the information we need to conduct a decision, our final decision, then sit down together and make that decision. Because that's something that I know is that once we made a decision, we cannot go back to get again the SROs. I'm sorry for my voice. I'm sick today.
No problem. Hope you feel better. Thank you for sharing that. So, Ms. Valentine, how would you like to proceed?
So do we have time to vote on July 15 and have those conversations to ask about the funding? Are we going to get it moving forward? Or, you know, I mean, you were giving a strict timeline, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that timeline.
Yeah, Ms. Hernandez has her hand up as well, so I'll look for that timeline as we go forward here, so I can try to get that information for you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. I'm also going to agree with Ms. Lopez. If there is time to sit and have conversations about this and seeing what our solid plan is, and we could wait and absorb this information, I think that would be better. I think right now it's kind of a lot to take in, and to make a decision right now, off the top of my head, I'm not so comfortable with it. Thinking about this 50,000 to put an unsecure position that's not sustainable at this time. I don't know. It's to me, I'm not comfortable making the decision right now at this time.
Thank you, Cassandra, and Norma, for your feedback. Anyone else?
Yeah, I apologize for the delay. I'm trying to pull up that email right now with the outline from Miss Chief Jadine Chow.
And maybe Mr. Javier, I know I wasn't there the last meeting. Do you think that this was a concern to that committee as well, the sustainability of the funding?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know, the decision that we're presented with here is, do we give up something that is guaranteed for a year for something that, you know, might be here for a year but could be gone, you know, and losing giving up even one SRO that could be permanent, it could have ramifications for something that, you know, what they said in the fine print was that they can't guarantee us even the 50K. So that, I think it was difficult. That came into consideration. We still landed on keeping just the one SRO though. And I think the reason that we felt confident in that is because a lot of the moves we're making within the building and welcoming some of the support. And so even if it's, I think this came up in our discussion, and Mr. Jaramillo, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and you know, Mr. De Jesus, but it seems like with CPS and with these kinds of movements, nothing's really guaranteed. You know what I mean? So this is one of those situations where we could end up losing SROs next year anyways, and then have nothing to show for it. You know, so if we're making the decision based on what could be, or, you know, what might not be, it's hard to base it on such an uncertain future. And so the thing that we felt very certain about were the moves we're making in building that we are in control of. And so requesting some of the support for those guaranteed things moving forward. I think that's what we landed on for making this move. Yeah, but I totally appreciate and understand the concerns. Yeah.
And definitely,
So-
Mr. Javier, if we're able to have a conversation with the decision makers, right? I think we would love to include you as part of the committee, because you have put and that committee have put a lot of work, and we want to be respectful to that. But we also want some clear guarantees. And we don't at Steinmetz want to be in the middle of the politics of this issue. So I think that needs to be voiced as well. Because it was finally working with us, and now there's an issue district-wise that now we're paying for it. So definitely we'll continue to engage you in that conversation.
And Mr. Master Sergeant Davis has his hand up, and I do have the clarified timeline. But Master Sergeant, if you want to go ahead.
Well, I would like to say that I agree with Ms. Lopez and Ms. Hernandez, but most of us have been working with CPS a long time, knowing that, and we know that they're not going to give us a guarantee for a budget. Now, I mean, ain't no need. I mean, see, we should ask, but we also know based on data that if your infractions go down, then they're going to feel there's no need for you to have anything more, and they'll take it from you. So when you have good news, you get bad news when it comes to budget. So they figure you don't need those things. They do the same thing when you ask for a sub security. If you're not in a high need area, you're not a priority when you come get sub security. So we know some of these things already. So I think the other consideration is, so what do we do if we don't get a guarantee? So we're putting our hopes in a guarantee. So, but we also have to think about what we do if we don't get a guarantee, because if CPS continue their practices, and I'm pretty sure they don't guarantee you budget from year to year and personnel year to year, things changes. And I'm pretty sure that the people that promise you something today may be gone tomorrow. So I don't think that no matter what you get out of a person's mouth, it's going to be a guarantee for the next year.
Thank you for sharing, Master Sergeant. So there was an original deadline, but then there was an extension issued, and I'm reading verbatim. No later than June 14th, plans should be submitted to LSC for June or July vote on approval of plans, including your recommendation on SRO program. We would like all LSCs to vote on WSS plans no later than July 16th. So although we do have time, we are meeting the requirements by presenting it now in the June meeting. That just means that when we have an organizational meeting, we have to make sure that we immediately schedule our organizational meeting in July. We need to immediately schedule a regular July meeting so that we can follow up and meet the deadline, which is no later than July 16th.
So with that said, and getting the consensus of the council, do we then reach out to J. Dean Chow for a meeting regarding our school safety plan and our concerns, then come back, like you said, in an immediate meeting after the organizational, and then cast a vote based on our conversation with her?
If that's how the council wants to proceed, then yes. I mean, it's up to the council to decide how they would like to proceed. That's what it kind of sounds like the consensus is, but I don't know. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, so that's what I get from everyone's comment, but okay. So if that's what we agreed on, then there means that we need to do some hard work from today, like scheduling this meeting, bringing stakeholders to the table to have this conversation, and then present then to the council again, and then go into it with a vote.
Mr. Javier raised his hand. Go ahead, Mr. Javier.
Yeah, so I mean, just reviewing the process, I think we did go through in our data analysis. We did, we've surveyed a lot of I think a pretty complete list of stakeholders, And I think the uncertainties that we have in moving forward, I don't think they're going to become more certain if we, wait until June and July, until the end of it. So, yeah, that would be my only concern. Like if the team, the LSC decides to wait to gather more info or to get more clarity, my understanding is that we'll still be making a decision based on the things that we've already gathered. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the sense that I'm getting. So I'm not sure. I'm just not sure if there's much advantage to waiting, but I do sense the uncertainty on the team. So
I guess we want to give an opportunity to the council members, right? We've been part of the committee, so they've seen it. I've spoken to some of the council members about the information, right? But I guess seeing it, talking about is different from processing. So I want to be respectful to them as well. I agree. I don't think anything's going to change. I don't think there's really true commitments, but there's also accountability that this council needs to have with safety and security, because we were put up as a council to do this vote. We then again were forced to do it again, right? Which now became, safety committee plan. But I, as a council member, feel that there's a lot of other things that we need to be worrying and voting for every year. And I don't want this to be one of those things, right? So I think by us having that conversation with J. Dean or the board, whomever we speak with, makes us feel better. I'm assuming, right? Makes people feel better then to make the vote, right? Because again, this is an agenda of the district that said, you guys figure it out, create your committee, and then go vote for it. So they need to be held accountable as well.
yeah, I understand, Ms. Kios. That makes a lot of sense.
And if I could just add, what I hear from the council is not a doubt in the research, not a doubt in the process that our team has followed, and there's no doubt that what we assessed as working for our building and what we suggest that we've identified as next steps. There doesn't seem to be any hesitation with accepting those suggestions, because these are suggestions. And looking at that plan to see how we support it. And it sounds like I haven't heard any pushback regarding the plan, but I do understand the hesitation due to no guarantee of a commitment or of what the future will hold, or the uncertainty of the way the plan basically addresses the questions that we have, which just because we put it in a plan that this is what we think we need for our building, there's no guarantee that we are going to receive those resources. Although it was stated to us that there would be an exchange of $50,000 value given for an SRO, that doesn't necessarily is not a guarantee. It sounded, from the research and the committees and everything else that we've had to attend, basically there may be some schools who select one SRO and they may receive more than a $50,000 based off of equity index, based off of data. As Master Sergeant said earlier, sometimes if your data is improving, you receive less resources. And, same, on the contrary, right? So because of that, I think, it would be worthwhile to pursue speaking with the district to see what they can offer us. The question is, having a game plan and understanding what is it that we're going to be asking them, and having them present to us, is it going to be enough for them to present at the next council meeting, or do we need to meet in between so that we have enough time to process it? So there's a lot of things coming up, so we just need to be really clear about how we would like to proceed. It's obvious that nobody wants to proceed with a vote tonight, which is fine. We do have a little bit of time, but we just need to make sure that we proceed to pursue an answer and follow up from the district. And then we have to decide, would that be sufficient at that point to go ahead and make a decision and move forward?
I agree, Mr. Jaramillo. Definitely a timeline and looking at the next week or so. I think about graduation. I think about a lot of school activities. So could we decide on a day that we want to present to J. Dean Chow and maybe someone from the Board of Ed, because the district is unstable. They don't have the CEO. I think talking to the Chicago Board of Education members may help us. It's not going to help us. It's going to talk to stakeholders that are there, that are not resigning from their position, because I don't want to talk to anyone that's checked out.
Okay, well, I mean, if it's agreeable with the council, I can go ahead and try to make contact by this week and see if they can give us some suggested dates. It seems like the consensus by the council is that you would like to speak with Jadine Chow herself. Correct me if I'm wrong, or are there other members from the board or other stakeholders you would like for me to invite to a follow-up session?
I think it'll be great, and I'm just speaking for myself, but I think if we could get Jay Dean, Dwayne Truss, and also, what's his name? Del Valle, I think that will be a good group to meet with.
Okay, I'm writing this down. And I'll go ahead and try to make contact and see what that yields by the end of the week. If not, the middle of the week, and then I'll go forward from there, communicating with you so that we can try to set something up.
Yeah, one last question. Who write the duty description for this SRO if we hire? I mean, I know CPS is putting $50,000 towards it, but who write the duty description? What's the training? You know, what's the difference between this person versus someone that's in security to continue to get training on some of those things? I just wanted to know what is the duty description for those individuals. What are the qualifications?
There is a I forgot the technical term for it, but there is an agreement between CPS and CPD in which there is a specific job description and training that is described or identified that defines what the SROs are supposed to do, not supposed to do, and what trainings and qualifications they should have. So that is I forgot the technical term, but there's basically an agreement between CPS and CPD that identifies that.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Again, I'll follow up with the council members as soon as I hear something, and I'll try to follow up with the individuals that you asked me to follow up with this week. So again, thank you, Mr. Javier, for joining us and helping us explain through that presentation. We've met this first major deadline in trying to get this information to the LSC and allowing the LSC the opportunity to go through and review this to make an informed decision. And so I would also like to thank Mr. DeJesus and Ms. Valentine for also being part of those meetings and helping us, review data and look at strategies and coming up with a plan. So thank you. I'll go ahead with the rest of the principal's report, unless there's any more comments.
No, I just also want to thank Mr. Javier for his leadership. I'm truly excited with his transition in the new role. Mr. Jaramillo, I know the council is doing this request. Is there any way that we could also request to have Mr. Javier to represent our safety committee and be part of these conversations?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can invite him to the meetings and go from there.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and continue with the rest of the principal's report. So one of the communications that came from LSC Relations, as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, is that this is our last meeting for the school year. So we must follow up with an organizational meeting between July 1st and July 14th. So this communication came straight from the district. The purposes of the meeting are to elect a chairperson, must be a parent member, elect a secretary, maybe any member, set dates and times of regular meetings for the coming school year, and select Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act officer or officers if there is a vacancy. The LSC may also select the vice chair to act in the absence of the chair, may be any member, but we recommend a parent. So basically, what I would like to do is we set a date for our organizational meeting. At the organizational meeting, not only we select those positions, then we go ahead and decide when our regular meetings are going to be. So at that meeting, at that organizational meeting, we'll decide when our July meeting is going to be, which should be before the deadline in order to make the SRO vote. And then we'll go from there. So I would like to propose that we, in order to meet the guidelines, I would like to propose that we have an organizational meeting on Wednesday, July 7th at 5 p.m., which is our regular meeting time. So if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to propose a motion that we schedule our July organizational meeting for Wednesday, July 7th at 5 p.m.
I'll second that. Open for discussion. Close for discussion, roll call vote.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
and I'm going through because I go through multiple screens. Sergeant Davis, yes. Mr. Keelis is not here. Ms. Lopez? Ms. Lopez?
Yes, it's fine.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Cervantes? And I know
would this
you
include
won't be
me?
here, but you still can vote. Yes.
Yes.
8 yes, no no's, motion passed, 5:54 p.m.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'll go ahead and add that to the calendar and send out the invite for the organizational meeting to all members, those that are here and those that are not. And then just a few more little updates. I'm not going to make it too long. Just want to give you an update about graduation, senior events updates. We have our graduation drive-up celebration on Monday, 6/14. We'd like to invite everyone, all of our LSC members, to attend both events. I'll send you more information via email regarding the times. It will happen during the day. Our graduation ceremony, the official graduation, is on June 16th. And that the graduation ceremony will be occurring at 11 a.m. Originally, as I stated to senior class officers, and I think I've stated before to council, the guidelines are constantly changing, as we know, for the state, the city, as well as CPS. So due to the changes in the guidelines and the regulations regarding gatherings, we are now able to host one graduation ceremony instead of two, because of the restrictions that were lifted on some of the amount of individuals you could have at a gathering. So we're going to have one ceremony at 11 a.m. on the field. It will be our first graduation out on our field, and the students will receive 2 tickets. Will be allowed 2 guests per student, and everyone will follow the health screener procedures. And again, all LSC members are invited to attend both events. I encourage you to be a part of this. This is something that you guys work hard for in supporting the school, and it'd be great if you could enjoy the fruits of your labor and all the support that you've given to see our students walk across stage and enjoy this great celebration with their families. Some other events that we've had this month, we had a senior awards night presented by Ms. Russo. Thank you, Ms. Russo, for I think there was over 500 certificates where students were honored, and I'm sure Ms. Russo is going to talk a little bit about that in her presentation. We had National Honor Society induction ceremony sponsored by Ms. Perez. Our JRTC award ceremony sponsored by Master Sergeant Davis and Sergeant First Class Kaminsky. And we had IBMYP award ceremony sponsored by Ms. Ferrarini and Ms. Resney. Some of these events did occur in person and online simultaneously. Some students felt comfortable enough to show up and participate, and other students decide to participate online. Either way, we were able to still celebrate with our students virtually and in person, and recognize their accomplishments. One thing I would like to share with you is this was earlier today, we had our seniors come by and pick up their lawn signs, their hats, their water bottles, their bags, and their t-shirts. They were very excited to receive all of their senior goodies, and especially their cap and gown. And as you can see here, there are a few pictures from this morning. You see Miss Russo, Master Sergeant is in one of the pictures, Mr. DeJesus. Parents came with their students to pick up their materials, and it was a great morning. Very hot, but it was a great morning, and we're happy to be able to host this on the front campus and still maintain all of the standards that are required of us. And that did not take away from the excitement and the joy of being together with our students. And just a few miscellaneous announcements. Our PCC clinic is still giving out vaccines for anyone that's 12 and older. So if you know anyone, please share this information. You do not have to be a member of PCC. You don't have to be a patient of PCC. It's just 12 and older, and they will take care of you for your vaccination needs. I know Miss Valentine has been working in the community tirelessly, still trying to push, getting everyone vaccinated. And you'll see some of those announcements either from Ms. Valentine, or you'll see something from CPS or other organizations being put out there. This is just one more tool, one more avenue to getting a vaccine. So if you know anybody, absolutely recommend them to reach out to PCC and schedule an appointment. I did announce earlier this month that starting this coming up school year, we are proud to announce that we are going to be offering new college credit courses in which students can earn college credit, dual credit, through our partnership with the City Colleges of Chicago. And so that means that students will be able to earn college credit and have not only high school credit, but college credit before they graduate from high school, giving them one step further into the door of going to college and having to pay less money, actually, since some of the requirements are already being met for the first year of college. And some of those new dual credit classes that we're going to be offering, that we're offering actually, is Afro-American Studies 101, English 101, Biology 120, Medical Terminology, Business 181, Financial Accounting, and Transitional English. And then returning classes, Business 111, Intro to Business, and Math for STEM careers. So these opportunities open for all students, whether they're DL, EL, but it should be noted that all dual credit classes do require a 2.5 GPA for enrollment. And these two particular classes, Transitional English and Math for STEM careers, do not earn college credit, but exempt students from entry-level requirements at the City Colleges of Chicago. And most of these credits are transferable to universities and other colleges, especially in the state of Illinois. So we're really excited to have these additional opportunities as we continue to revise our curriculum, course offerings, and pathways for our students so that they have more opportunities to earn college credit, so that they can when they leave Steinmetz, have more college credits and opportunities under their belt. Just real quick, summer construction projects, so that you're aware, they will be repaving the teacher parking lot, all of the whole teacher parking lot up until the alley behind the school, not the alley itself, but the part that belongs to CPS. This is a part of a two-part project. This is the second half, in which they're going to go ahead and pave this very soon. There will be installation of a new server by CPS. There's a lighting upgrade in our small auditorium to LED lighting, repaint, refinish, and repair all stairways and railings. A final punch list of the STEAM labs will be completed. Cleaning of classrooms, refinish hallways and floors as usual. And of course, the fire alarm upgrade is an ongoing project that will be continue to be worked on throughout the summer. Some announcements. We will be hosting the Dever graduation on Thursday, 6/17/2021. We'll be supporting Mary Lyons' graduation with chairs that we're going to help them out with. And the last day of school for students is Tuesday, 6/22, and the first day of summer programming is Tuesday, 7/6. And some topics that I would like to present in July. For our July meeting, I would like to discuss student fees for the school year 21-22, the yearbook plan, and ESS/ER funding ideas. And that's all I have for my principal's report. There's just one more thing that's not on here that I would like to make a personal plea to the council, which is, as we're returning to normal, and as we move forward, one thing that we've lost, not only because of the pandemic, but even previously because of different situations in which our space had to be utilized by another school because of an emergency, is I would like to ask the council to please help in advocating for a change in the rules so that we can allow our parent university to reopen and to allow visitors back in the building. A big part of our identity, of what we do, of how we get an increased involvement, how we motivate students, how we get collaboration and cooperation is through our parent university. And unfortunately, up until this point, due to restrictions, which I hope will be alleviated very soon, we have not been able to reestablish our parent university on campus to allow for parents to return and engage with the our supports that we have in place. So I would like to ask the council to help me in reaching out to those individuals, maybe Ms. Valentine, Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Lopez, if you know certain people you could reach out to help us advocate for the reopening of our parent university and to give us those permissions to be able to invite parents back and to allow for in-person meetings. And that concludes my principal report.
Hey man, you just hit what I wanted to hear. So parent university, like I think if we're gonna schedule something with Valle, Dwayne, right, and Jay Dean, maybe that could also be something we talk about with them, since they're safe, she's safety and security, and they continue to make that the big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I could add to the communication. When I reach out to them, I can put those as two different bullet points that we would like to discuss.
That sounds great. Thank you.
All right, and that concludes the principal's report. I guess we could go back to the regularly scheduled agenda if you would like.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. The next part in the agenda is there any departments that are present in the meeting and wanted to do any department reports? We don't have any committees. Correct, Mr. Jaramillo? No one's on the line?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of, no.
All right. For chair report, I will share with the council as commitment from our last meeting. I want to thank Mr. Jaramillo for being very communicative with me, always reaching out to try to get my feedback. We did have a check-in for about 2 hours, right, Mr. Jaramillo? Kind of our first check-in was quite intense and deep, but I want to thank you, Mr. Jaramillo, for that leadership. I also, as a chair, been participating in the safety committee. That has been a joy to be.
Feedback and your commitment to our school and our students. And thank you for helping propel our school forward.
With that, we'll go into our committee reports. We will go straight to the athletic student report, actually. Katie, student report.
Apologies, my mic wasn't turning on for a second there. So I didn't create a document for this month's student report, since a lot of the kids that I've spoken to only had really 2 questions. And those 2 questions being, how is next year going to look for us? And are vaccinations going to be a requirement? And I understand that you guys aren't going to have the answers to that today, but those are the questions that they would like to have answers to once September begins, or once August, the end of August, when school is about to begin. And that's all I have for my student report, really.
Thank you, Kaidi. I definitely will make that information available as you've been witness to all of this. Information changes rapidly and frequently, as we go through. And those are 2 great questions. And I honestly don't have the answers to those right now. But as soon as I do find out, we will definitely share it with all of you.
Thank you, Katie. We will go to the athletic director report.
Hi there. Okay, so we ended the school year with a really good season for the whole year. I have to say that I'm very proud of all of the coaches and the athletes for adhering to all of the policies and protocols that have been required. I want to say, and I say this with pride, though others might say it with annoyance, we followed every protocol that we were asked to follow by sports administration and by CPS. People didn't love it that we were asking spectators to please do your screener before you arrive on campus. We had security guards outside showing people how to do that. Our security worked very hard because this was this first season where we had spectators. Indoor sports did not have them, so we really were able to have spectators. And I feel like we did a fantastic job, and the coaches and the players themselves, I mean, they started to work with their parents, doing their parents' screener for them. And so I'm very proud of that. And we did have other people say to us, from parents from other schools, no other school in this city makes their parents do this, to which I said, thank you, because we pride ourselves in following all the policies. It was a tough time to have overlapping seasons. We saw that in a bunch of sports, volleyball and softball, and then both volleyball teams and both soccer teams sort of overlapped. So it was very difficult this season having numbers come out. We're hoping that we will see greater numbers next year. But the kids who came out were so overjoyed all season to be out there, to be playing, to be with their friends, to be a part of the team, to the point where near the end of the season, I had kids who were saying to me, I wish I had. And so I salute all of the kids, particularly the ones in the fall season who came out when everything was fresh and new. So those cross country and 16-inch softball players who came out when we didn't know what was going to happen. I salute those coaches and those athletes especially. Steinmetz hosted for the first time our track meets. We had one on May 1st and one on May 15th. The May 1st was our own track meet, which I thought went supremely well. And then May 15th was the CPS track meet. We had an enormous number of people, both students and parents, because parents just kept showing up, even though there were supposed to be lists given to us in advance. No, this was one of those examples where Mr. Jaramillo can attest, as he was there. We followed the rules, to which sports administration did not. And so I'm very, very proud of how well we handled it. We got a lot of great feedback about how friendly we were, how helpful, how smoothly our coaches did end up running most of that meet, even though it was a CPS meet. And people who came into the building to use the facilities, the bathrooms, they were amazed at what a beautiful school it is. So we got nothing but positive feedback from that event. And I'm very impressed with everyone who worked in it, including the girls on my softball team who volunteered to be greeters and helping people with their screeners. And everyone worked together, and it was quite the success. Our baseball team made it to the consolation playoffs. They went pretty deep in, so congratulations to Coach Roldan and to all of them. We are looking forward to next year. Guns a-blazing. We're starting a new team in the fall, which is kind of picking up speed across the country, and that is girls flag football. And that'll be coached by coaches Miss Zulma Rivera and Coach Dowling of basketball. And they're very excited. They've already their jerseys are going to be provided by a combination of, I believe, Nike and the Bears. So super cool. We're looking to get practices started almost right away, as they will be beginning in August. So we don't know what next year will look like in terms of protocols. We don't know right now. We've gotten some indication, as Mr. Jaramillo again can attest, some indication of what changes are being made. IHSA keeps updating frequently, but CPS always lags a bit behind what the state decides. I would suggest at this point we're going to be moving forward with many of the similar protocols that we have been doing, which means that we will be probably doing the screener for a while. We'll definitely be taking attendance at every practice and game, which I put into Aspen for contact tracing purposes. Whether every team will be masked, I'm not sure. Right now, the low-risk outdoor sports are not required to be masked during playtime, but we'll see. And there's a little confusion over whether or not there will be spectators for indoor sports. It looks like there probably will be, but we don't have any confirmation. And CPS changes pretty quickly in terms of what's going to happen. So we're just going to play it by ear and assume that as of right now, we're following all the same protocols until we're told otherwise. So that's all I have for athletics. If you'd like, I can roll straight into my teacher report, or I can stop, whichever you prefer.
You could keep going. I
Well,
just
then
want to, yeah, but Ms. Russo, I just, as a parent that was out there and saw the enforcement and saw you and your softball students really taking the lead on Saturdays, I want to thank you for that. You always made not only us feel safe, but I did see the assignment of the visitor teams. So you could really tell they weren't doing their part. And thank you for acknowledging the fact that safety and security creates all these rules, but then they're nowhere to help implement them. So thank you for following the rules and keeping our babies safe through this whole season.
Without question. I just want to make it clear that we don't care what other schools are doing, right? When a parent says, well, at this school, that's not our concern. Our concern is doing what we believe is right and what we are told to do, and we follow through with that. And it's a lot of work. I send a lot of emails with a lot of information to a lot of coaches every single morning, but it's worth it. And we did not have, knock on wood, we had many games that were forfeited against other teams because they had a COVID case in their on one of their teams, and then they had to shut down for 2 weeks. We were not in that situation. We were able to finish all of our seasons successfully, and I think the coaches should take a lot of pride in that. That said, I'm going to move forward. As a senior teacher, I have to say I was a little surprised. I guess I shouldn't be. I got a mad rush of assignments turned in the past week. And one of them, I gave an assignment. I just want to mention this. One of them was a slide presentation where each student had to put down their memories of high school, 4 years, and they had specific slides they had to include. And the one that I found the most intriguing and the most gratifying was the SCP slide, which is what they remember or thought of or how they'll think about Steinmetz after they're gone. And almost every student put down, they named either a person or a department or just a general listing of individuals at Steinmetz that they know care about them. And that was one of the most gratifying things for me, is whatever anyone else may say. There are two things. One, people said, I don't know why people say Steinmetz is a bad school. This is a good school. And I want to make that clear. Kids wrote that. And second, they said that I know that people, and they mentioned people from the attendance office, like I like being able to go and sit down and talk to Mr. DeJesus or Miss Turner, all the way to the lunch ladies. They said, I know there are people at Steinmetz who care about me. And I think whatever else we may hear, that's the best attestation that we can be, the best affirmation that we can have, is that our kids know that we're there for them. And so I just wanted to start with that. I want to say also that the counseling office has done what I think is an amazing job. Their class of 2021 Google Classroom page, I was lucky enough to be included on it. They put out so much information that it is maddening when students don't know the answers to things. But they have done a great job making sure that in a world where we don't see the kids, they're getting information to the students. And so I just want to say, as a teacher of seniors, that I very much appreciate that communication, that really helped. As to the senior awards, Mr. Jaramillo was very close. We had 175 students receiving 584 awards. He should know because he did the mail merge and printed them. So thank you so much, Mr. Jaramillo. Given by 28 teachers. And I sent this in an email to the staff, and I just want to say it really quickly. I had a student in one of my classes, when they found out that they were receiving an award, her response was, who would give me an award? And I thought that was so sad. And yet when these kids came and they picked them up today at this lovely outdoor kind of, I don't know, celebration, it felt like, so many of them were so excited to get these awards, knowing that they came from the staff, that somebody on staff found something special about them or noteworthy. When sometimes, especially this year, when we couldn't see them and be near them, and to know that somebody saw something in you, it had to feel fantastic. And I know that the kids in the IB and the ROTC ceremonies, I know that they felt the same way. And the National Honor Society, they felt the same way, that they have been seen. And I kind of joked about that in the senior, the video. We can't see them because they don't turn on their cameras, but we see them, and they appreciate that. And I would say about today, the parents and students that came out today, I would describe them as joyful, excited, and relieved. And I feel like we've done a really good job trying to, as much as we've been able to, keep the hype up, keep the joy up, keep the enthusiasm about what we can provide them for senior events, as opposed to what we could not. And there were things we just couldn't do, of course. But the kids who came out, it was so nice. They enjoyed seeing us, seeing each other, getting their awards, and like you said, getting their caps and gowns. That moment is huge. And so I thought that was really special today, and I know that the seniors appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to what we can hopefully resume for next year. But in the meantime, I'm grateful for all the students that we had this year and for how hard they worked and how well they persevered. So that's all for me.
Master Sergeant, anything you want to add?
Well, first, before I move forward, I would like to say, Mr. Vontas, I know this is your last meeting. I'd like to say thank you. You've been a joy, not just in JRTC, but in this meeting.
Yay, Katie.
I've been in LACs from not just this school, but previous schools. You've been one of our most involved students that I've been involved with, and you care. And again, I thank you for those things, even your insight in class. I'd like to thank Ms. Russo also for her effort with the senior awards, just making sure that every teacher have an opportunity to acknowledge students as well, because some teachers don't do their own award ceremony, but they always like to do those things, and just to make sure that we invite everyone inclusive. That way, every student have an opportunity to be recognized, and I think we did a real good job with that. Also, some of our seniors that are not here today, my commander and XO, they picked the plaques for our seniors this year, and they went all out. But they went all out because of the support from Mr. Jaramillo and the rest of the admin staff, because we did have a great award ceremony, and the students got their plaques, they're getting certificates, and they have their scroll for graduation. Even to seeing them today was a great opportunity. The other thing I would say that the teachers are doing, a lot of them are doing on their own because of the mad rush, as Ms. Russo talked about, is turning assignments. Our juniors, sophomores, and freshmen are doing that now. And so it seems like every 2 or 3 days, it's like lightning Wednesday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday, because we know our students are finally seeing sometimes the train or either the light at the end of the tunnel, and now they're coming to life they have an opportunity to pass. And teachers are giving them multiple opportunities to succeed as we move to the end of the year. And we're at that, last week and a half. And so we're doing a lot of allowing students to make up those assignments, allowing students to learn some of the skills that they don't know. And we anticipate that we have to do a lot of these teaching when we get back, because there's a shortfall. Also, I'd like to thank, Mr. Jaramillo and especially Ms. Wims for the opportunity to allow us, as Ms. Russo said, compete when other schools are not competing, even in sports, and not taking it serious, because we have 47 schools that has JRTC programs, and only 5 did archery competition, which our school took first place in the archery competition that we've done. And we'll continue to practice in archery. We continue to practice and drill and those things. And those things are important to students because they are looking and reaching for some normalcy. And we provide that, allowing them to come to school and participate in things and send school, outside their home, because they get tired of staying at home as well. They might not be the best athlete, but they have an opportunity to get away from home and enjoy, the school that they call home throughout the rest of the year. And so thanks to the LSC members and the admin staff and everyone else here and our fellow teachers, that we are all communicating about our students' needs, including the ESPs. And so we did a great job this year supporting our students. We know that there's some things some unfinished business, but I think that those things that are unfinished, that we'll still continue to work on. Our students didn't miss out on too much because we did all we could do for them, in despite of all the rules the CPS and other people had placed upon us.
Thank you so much, Master Sergeant. We go to the non-teacher report.
Just to piggyback on everything that everyone said, I'm not going to repeat everything. All the ESPs and everybody in the building is super proud of one another for almost getting through this year. And the busiest part of our year is yet to come with graduation and Chromebook pickup and books and all that good stuff. So we're just getting ready for all that and all hands on deck like we always do. But that's pretty much everything that we got when it comes to ESPs. And again, huge shout outs to, ROTC, Master Sergeant, Sergeant Kaminsky, Ms. Russo. Every year she always does an outstanding job. The admin team, Mr. Jaramillo, everybody in the school. Katie, we're gonna miss you. You've been a super part of the school for 4 years. You're an outstanding role model for all our students. I thank you so much for helping us with little things that you helped us with in the attendance office. You as well as Jenny, and you will be missed. But great things ahead for you.
Yeah, I would also like to take a minute and just thank you, Katie, for being a member of this council and a great student, and for being considerate and making sure that you get answers to the questions that you have and representing the students well, but doing it in a respectful manner and pushing, but again, being considerate and trying to get the answers that you're looking for. So I really appreciate you and appreciate everything you've done for our school and the way you've represented us and for our council. Thank you.
Thank you too as well, Mr. Jaramillo, Sergeant Davis, and Ms. Russo and Lefty. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. De Jesus. And I, as a parent representative, also want to thank Katie for her leadership, and definitely looking forward and meeting you in person, hopefully on graduation day. But continue to be a streak out there after you leave us, and the best of luck to you in whatever career and education you seek. Mr. Jaramillo, do we have any PPLC, CIWP, anything around that?
No, and the facilities and grounds I pretty much already covered in the principal's report. I think all we have left possibly is well, we have the internal accounts and then the community report.
So we want to go in. I know part of the agenda is to vote for these items. We could go to community report and then go into the budget transfers and all of that. I'm assuming there's no community report because there's no community rep.
I think you're right, Ms. Valentin. I think you're right.
So, Mr. Jaramillo, could you walk us through the budget transfers?
Sure. Let me get my file real quick here. But I sent everyone a copy of the budget transfers. Just one thing to keep in mind is the end of the school year with the CPS deadlines to use any funding that hasn't been used throughout the year really pushes everyone to some last minute deadlines. So the priority was, of course, to support technology, to make sure that we have Chromebooks for our students, and make sure that we have the projectors and everything we need in order to support in-person learning as well as remote learning. We don't know what next year is going to look like, of course, but being responsible and making sure that we're able to provide the technology and replace any technology that may be broken or needs repairs, but making sure that that's a priority so that we can try to continue that big push forward, because there's a silver lining, which is with this pandemic, we've been able to really push our students to have access and keep a 1-to-1 ratio of technology, which is something that can take years and years to do. So we were able to do that. So I'm pretty proud of that. So again, the budget transfers, as you can see, there are a few different pages. The first one for 518. As you can see there, it was for Chromebooks, transfer funds to clear supply negatives for the yearbook, and some plaques for ROTC. And let me see here. The other document that was sent to you is dated 5/19. As you can see, most of those were for reallocating, closing out all the lines that had balances on them, to reallocate the funding for the use for CDWG Marketplace to purchase Chromebooks. The next page is dated 5/19. Again, funding from different lines were moved for the mentoring coordinator stipend that was provided by CPS, but it had to be moved to a line. From community supplies for the graduation covers, the website cost from the 519 document. The 526 document, did you see some of the lines, or as little as 7 cents and even higher? We're trying to close out those different funding sources in order to, again, to assist with the swapping funding source for the STLS and homeless students to purchase their Chromebooks. Let me see, pay for sports travel, Chromebooks, benefits stipend, pay off the school website, the stipend by CPS for the coordinator for the mentoring program. The document from 527. Oh, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second here. On 527, that was transferred to supply funding to purchase classroom projectors. So if you see, it's clearing off all the different lines from $11, $97, $982, so on and so forth, all added up to purchase classroom projectors, the funding of positions, and closing up those lines. And I believe, I'm not sure if this is the last one. Let's see here. Let's see here. Projectors, classroom 124. I think I already read this one off. Yeah, so the next one dated 528 is transfer funds from computer equipment to purchase year-end supplies, classroom projectors. Again, it was just cleaning up and pulling all those different funding sources so they're condensed so that we could purchase projectors. And I believe that's all of the budget transfer documents that I provided. Are there any questions regarding any of those transfers?
I just wanted to add, Mr. Jaramillo, so the council members know that I did Jaramillo and I spoke about these transfers. These were transfers basically that CPS said use or lose it. As I had the conversation with Jaramillo, he explained those items that were priority. And I know in the council we have talked about technology, and those were prioritized. So I just want to, again, this is an evidence of having conversation before, that we did go over these and make sure we were doing what was the priority. So I just, again, thank you for that process. It's something different that we did this time. And I really appreciate it, Mr. Jaramillo.
And I just want to mention, because I think I may have not have clicked on this document, but the one dated 518, there were transfers there to pay for yearbook outstanding invoices that we were told by CPS we had to pay for. And that was also on the 518 document, and that was approved by CPS and put through so that we can meet all of our financial responsibilities. And so I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented.
I'll second that. Open for discussion. Close for discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Ms. Aquiles is not here. Sergeant Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
Did I call you Ms. Lopez? I'm not for sure. I might skip your name.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cervantes can't vote. 7 yes, no no's. Motion passed. It's 6:37 p.m.
All right, thank you very much. The next item are the internal accounts. I already sent those documents to everyone ahead of time. I don't know if you would like some time to review them again, but I'd like to make a motion to approve the internal accounts as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, I guess, hold on one second. We lost Ms. Valentine for a second there, and I believe I just approved her to come back in, but I don't see her on the screen. So there's a motion on the floor, open for discussion. All right, cool. Oh, let me allow Ms. Valentine in one more time. Close for discussion.
Sorry, I got disconnected, guys.
No problem. So we're at the point where a motion was made for approval of the internal accounts. We were at open for discussion. I don't know if you want to say anything, Ms. Valentine, or if we can close discussion and move forward.
No, I'm good.
Okay, close for discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Jordan Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. DeSuze,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
7 yes, no no's. Motion passed. 6:39 p.m.
Thank you, everyone. Ms. Valentine was disconnected again, so she should be with us shortly. So let's give her a second to try to reconnect. There we go.
Again.
You gotta get rid of AT&T. Get rid of AT&T.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we did internal costs. Any other business? I know, Cassandra, did you have your hand up earlier?
I did. I wanted just to go back a little bit with the awards. It was just a question for Ms. Russo. In regard to the awards, I know that this wonderful event took place with the awards, and I was just wondering, out of curiosity, how many awards were issued to diverse learners? Because sometimes, a lot of times, they are overlooked. So I just, out of curiosity, I was just wondering how many were distributed for those students.
There's no way for me to know that because it wasn't tracked as an official. These came from the teachers. So there would be no, I don't know how to do that. I did not look up every student to find out which ones were diverse learners. I received the names of the students from their teachers. I don't have an answer to that. If you want me to for the next meeting, I can look up that information, but I was basically given the names of the students as were submitted by their teachers. And to be clear, every teacher and staff member in the building was eligible to contribute and could have. But if you are interested in that data, I can definitely get that information for you.
That would be great. Thank you.
And so you know, Ms. Hernandez, and I'm glad you asked that question because I think me and actually Mr. DeJesus, so you know that a diverse learner is on the SRO team, which is one of our students, and for the JRTC, our third in charge is a diverse learner, and about 5 out of the 8 staff members we have are diverse learners, and next year commander is going to be a diverse learner as well. So sometimes it's hard to, and I think when Ms. Russo say she don't know, these students, diverse learner blends in so well that it's hard to figure out who's who, and they're just as engaged as anybody else in our school. So it's really hard to figure out who is who. I just know them because I'm a smaller program, and Ms. Russo actually was dealing with the whole senior class. But it's really hard to figure out those things. But they're really engaged in some of the things I do. And our archery captain is a diverse learner as well.
Just as easy it is that not to be able to identify them, because they do blend in so well, it's very easily not to be able to identify them. So it's two sides of it. So maybe just moving forward, just making sure that we're doing things intentionally, and just making sure that
the thing is, though, while I completely agree, the thing is that this is an organic thing. This is the teachers are expressing the children in front of them. They're not looking at them as, it almost sounds like you're looking that there's a quota or a percentage. It's not like that. This is the teachers look at the students in front of them, and they don't suggest, I'm going to only look at these students or only look at those students. I think that would be limiting. They're looking at the students that are in front of them. And I think Master Sergeant is correct. I don't think people are looking at the students and saying, this child is a diverse learner. They're saying this child has shown exceptional, whatever it is. And so I don't think there's a lack of intentionality. I think that this has been expressed to every staff member in the building, and they could nominate any student for anything that they wanted, as much as improvement or just their efforts, their humor, their kindness. So while I understand what you are saying, and I will definitely get that information for you, this is just, we're looking at our students as students, not as, did I include students who are diverse learners, or did I include students who are ELL students? They're just students. And so I just want to make that clear, that no one is being intentionally or even accidentally left out.
Ms. Russo, to piggyback off what you and Master Sergeant said, me knowing a lot of our student population, pretty much a lot of it, like most of it, I noticed a lot of diverse learners, but like you said, we don't want to create a divide, right? And that's what it kind of sounds like, and we don't want to head in that direction, because all of our students are equal regardless of having an IEP, 504, NIB, MYP, whatever it might be. But I did see a lot of students today being out there that do have IEPs or 504s or any other type of plan that did receive a lot of certificates. And like you said, every single staff member in our building was eligible to go ahead and nominate any type of award that you deem fit as, kind or, community service, whatever the teacher wanted to state or staff member. So I just want to put that out there. We shouldn't create a division of our students. Our entire student population always gets as much as possible from every single thing, just so everybody's clear on that.
Mr. De Jesus, thank you for that. And I'm not trying to cause a division, right? I'm just making sure that our diverse learners, just as the general pop, are included in these. And it sounds like that's the case. So I do appreciate that. But, just as much as they're included, they're often overseen. So as long as that we're just being intentional again, and I'm not trying to cause a divide, that we include them and continue including them. That's all I'm saying. And again, I'm not saying that we're not including them.
And I agree with you, Ms. Hernandez, definitely. And I hope I didn't come out the way. We actually intentionally look at those. That's why I can count the numbers. We actually look at those individuals that are in staff. We want to make sure we have a great population of those students. And we look at them as a whole, what they're capable of doing. And definitely, you're right 100%. So I do agree with you 100%, and just making sure they're included. And I definitely do look at those things as well. You're right. They can be easily, forgotten about because they they blend in so well. I do agree with you 100%. And so for that reason, we do look at those students, and I can probably tell you most of them who they are. Again, my program is a little bit smaller and than the other programs, and so we take a little bit better look at some of those things and have a better opportunity to do that because we deal with leadership.
And if I may, I wasn't going to present this data at this point because I don't have all the data points that I was trying to obtain. But I've been working with our data person at the school to try to obtain some of this data based off of our conversation from the last meeting. So I'll just show you 2 slides from the data just to give an idea because there were some questions about the distribution of DL, EL students throughout the building and in different programs. So I don't have all the reporting data because I'm still waiting for end of the year data regarding our other special programs. But this is a presentation I was starting to put together. So I'll just give you a little preview, but it doesn't answer the question regarding the certificates, and the awards. But we are trying to look at the distribution of diverse learners throughout the school. And so currently what we've seen is if we don't look at the data, we don't know, right? So we're just trying to get an idea and set some baseline data. As a representation of the school, currently 18% of our students are diverse learners. 82% are not diverse learners. Representation in JROTC, 16% of our students in JROTC are diverse learners. 84% are not diverse learners. So it is roughly very similar to a representation of the school. And then when we go to athletics, about 10% of the participating athletes are diverse learners and 90% are not. It's a little bit lower than the entire school population, but there's still similarities there. And then when we looked at ELL, English language learners, so our bilingual students currently represent 22% of the population of the school. 78% are non-EL students. JROTC is 26%, actually higher than the entire school average. And for athletics, it's actually 18%. So it's very similar representation of English language learners. And then another population that we look at is a combination of ELL and DL. So of that, of course, that's a smaller population of students. So of course, it's going to be a smaller percentage. But the entire school, 7% of the students are EL, DL learners. And for JRTC, that's represented at about 7% as well. And for athletics, only about 1%. So I don't have a full report, and I can't make any necessarily any predictions or conclusions regarding this data. It's just we're trying to work on looking at some of these data points based off of your concerns, Ms. Hernandez, from the last LSC meeting. So I started pushing our different departments to give me data from their departments so that we can start looking at some of these numbers to see what the distribution is, what the representation is. So I look forward to having more of this data put together by the end of the school year so that hopefully we can start looking at these data points going forward and monitoring the representation of diverse learners within the different programs we have at the school, and then look at the areas of need and see where we can increase participation of diverse learners and EL learners to make sure that, one, that they're aware of the different programs we have, and also that we're meeting their needs in these various programs. So again, I apologize for the incomplete report. I just received this data a few days ago that we've been working on trying to collect, and I just received the data from ASM and from CSI, and we're trying to aggregate that data and put it into some of these slides. So hopefully, we'll start the school year with this data and continue looking forward and seeing, we don't know what we don't know until we start looking at some of these data points. And, by your questions from the last meeting, it has sparked a curiosity and raised an obligation to start looking at this data to see where we're at as we move forward.
So thank you for that, Mr. Jaramillo. I think we want to be respectful to all and people's opinion. I understand the passion of Cassandra, having a diverse learner. We're their advocates, right, at times. So I understand your frustration and question, but I truly appreciate Cassandra, but I appreciate you, Mr. Jaramillo, in taking this serious and seeing where the data is at, so we could better serve not just diverse learner, not just our English learners, but everyone, right, equally at Steinmetz. So thank you all for your feedback, and this is what the council should be doing, is having these conversations and working through them and making sure that the services change and that we're providing everyone an equal opportunity. So thank you all for that conversation.
Oh, I think we lost Ms. Valentine again. Let's give her a minute or so, see if she could reconnect.
So sorry. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting if there's no other comments.
I second.
Open for discussion. Close for discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Son Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
and Ms. Cervantes.
Yes.
8 yes, no no's. Motion passed at 6:54 p.m.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'm going to stick around until the room clears out so I can stop the recording at that point.